Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
This is Randall Via, currently serving 1,214 years in Red Onion State Prison in the state of in the United States of America. And this is my podcast, Red Onion Randy, and I hope you enjoy listening to me. Today, I'm going to talk about names and nicknames in prison, the importance of nicknames and the danger of allowing other individuals to know your real name. Yes, I did have a nickname. A long time ago when I first came into the system, I was very violent. You know, I was willing to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. I didn't give a damn. You know, I didn't care how tall you were. I didn't care how big you were, how small, how fast you were, what you thought you knew or what you did know. Didn't make a damn to me. I not only was willing to fight you, I was willing to push that steel and take it that far on you. So that's how I wound up with my nickname Ghost, which is what guys used to call me in prison. Originally, guys wanted to call me Casper because my skin was so white, because when I was at the county jail awaiting trial, I never got to go outside, so I didn't have no type of color on my skin. I was just white. I was just pale, you know, but I made it abundantly clear, I don't like the name Casper. You're not going to call me that. And that's when, you know, guys saw that I was a scary individual. I was a dangerous guy. You know, and I was willing to take it that far. So they called me Ghost instead, which I was fine with. And, you know, there are dangers to having a nickname like Ghost. And that actually happened to me. I'll get to that here in a little bit. The reason why you want to go by a nickname in prison is because you do not want people in prison knowing your real name. For several reasons. And some of those reasons are, if you happen to be locked up for rape, if you happen to be locked up for statutory rape. Now, statutory rape is where you have consensual sex with the minor, meaning, you know, she's 16, 17 years old or whatnot. She's not legally considered an adult. If you're a child molester, you don't want people in prison knowing your name and finding out those charges, because if I know your name is John Q. Smith, I can write to the law library, and all I have to do is, yo, man, where are you from? You're going to say, oh, well, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. All right, that's what's up, man. You know so-and-so? And I just make up a name, and they're like, nah, man, I don't know that dude or whatnot. Or if they're trying to impress me, like, yeah, yo, I know that dude. You know, in my head, I'm like, yeah, I just made the name up. How the hell do you know him? And then I'll sit there and fake a conversation with him, and the whole time I'm just waiting to get away from him so I can go fill out a request form to the law library saying, yo, send me the case of John Q. Smith versus Richmond, Virginia. And, you know, within a couple of days, the law library is going to send me that case, and I'm going to read it. And I'm going to find out every charge you have, what you're really in prison for, if you snitched, if you turn state's evidence on your co-defendant or anything like that. I'm going to know all there is to know about you. And if you are a child molester, if you are, let's say you come in and you're pretending to be this stone cold gangster, you're pretending to be some baller, shot caller or whatnot out there on the streets. You were selling millions of dollars worth of dope on the corner. You was robbing these dudes. You was living this high lifestyle. I'm going to know by your charges. If you say you've got 5 murders, you know what I'm saying, but yet you're locked up for stealing a car, I'm going to expose you for who and what you are. Because trust is a rare thing in prison, and you want to know who you're dealing with. And guys like that, you can't trust them, and you don't want to be around them. So that's how dudes find out information on guys in prison. And like I said, if you're a rapist or a child molester, your life is going to be a living hell in prison. That's all there is to it. But another reason why you don't want guys knowing your name Because if they know your first name and your last name and they get your state number, they can fill out a money withdrawal. And a money withdrawal is where you send a form of paper in to the business office, and they will fill out a money order and send it to the address on the money withdrawal. So if I know you, if you're sitting there bragging like, yo, man, my mom just sent me $500. I'm like, okay, this dude got $500 on the books. So I'm going to fill out a money withdrawal for $250 of that, and I'm going to send it to an address on the street that's going to take $50 of it and keep it for themselves and then send me the $200 back to me. And you just lost $250. Because let me tell you, the sergeants get so many money withdrawals every single day in prison because those are the ones you have to give it to because they have to sign off on it. Otherwise, it will not be processed. And when they get it, they make rounds and everybody gives them early in the morning. So they'll have a stack of 30 or 40 of them. They're not going to stop at the door and check to see is the name on there appropriate, lined up. They don't have time for that. They're just going to get them, take them to the office, sit down at once, and fill it out. So when you get the receipt, well, first of all, by the time you get the receipt, the money order's already been sent out. It's on its way. And there ain't nothing you can do once that point hits. Because the sergeant, when they come and ask him, he's going to say, nah, he gave me that. I remember getting that from him. And he's going to lie because he's going to protect his job. He's got wife and kids to feed. You know, he's got bills to pay. He don't care if you lost $250 so long as he keeps his job and he don't get in trouble. Because at absolute best, he's going to get demoted from a sergeant back to a regular CO. He's going to lose that money, that extra money he was making as a sergeant, and he's going to have to reimburse you for the $250. That's at best. At worst, he gets fired and loses his job, and he has to go home and explain to his wife, well, why he can't pay the bills that month. So you're screwed out of that money. I'm just telling you that firsthand. I've never had it happen to me, but I know guys back in the day that used to do that, and it still happens to this day. So that's the reason why you don't want to let people know your real name. But another danger is if a person gets your real name, your first name and your last name, and your state number and whatnot, they can go online. They can find out your people's addresses. And they got no problem whatsoever sitting there writing your family members and saying, yo, look, if you do not send me such an amount of money every single month, I'm going to stab your son. I'm going to stab your brother. I'm going to kill his punk ass. I got life in prison. I don't care. So this is what you're going to do. And a lot of people's families will pay that money, even if they can't afford to pay it, because most families actually love you. And they're going to do what it takes to keep you safe. Now, my family's just going to write you back and laugh at you, dumbass. But that's neither here nor there. So these are just some of the dangers in letting a person, anybody in prison know your real name, know your state number. Don't give that information out to anyone for pretty much any reason whatsoever. It's like I get 2 Christian magazines. And I used to get the TV Guide before it ran out. I'm not going to renew it, but I would let guys read those, read some of the Christian magazines, check out the TV Guide so they can, make a little list of, what comes on television, what night and whatever. But one thing I always do, I always take a pen and I scribble out my name and my state number so nobody can read it. Because I don't want them getting that information because of the reasons I've already stated. It's a privacy issue. And I don't have a problem letting dudes know my charges, what I'm in prison for. I'll show you my institutional charge sheet. I could care less about that. But I'm not going to allow you to get access to my family. I'm not going to allow you to get access to my spend account, which, I mean, there's not that much in there, so good luck trying to take $300 from me. But if you're in prison, and I hope to God you never find yourself in a place like this, you want to protect yourself, so go by nickname. Now, most people are supposed to give you your nickname. Sometimes that's not feasible. Sometimes you don't know people. Sometimes it takes time for people to get to know you and come up with a nickname. You know, and I've heard some crazy nicknames. If you harken back onto, I don't remember what episode number it is, but it's the one where I'm telling the story about the dude from Sussex One who robbed the CEO for a chicken tray. You know, and his name was Headbuster. You know, which is one of the crazier nicknames I've heard in prison. You know, and you have guys from that come from other states that, you know, they come down to Virginia and they got locked up. So they'll go by New York, they'll go by Cali, they'll go by Texas or Montana or whatever. They'll go by their state name. You know, and some have personal nicknames. You know, you have some that will remind you of a 1970s biker movie. They'll go by Snake or Chains or some crazy name like that, you know. But then you have some that, you know, go by animal names. You know, you got a dude called Eagle. You got a dude called Weasel. You got another dude called Badger. And yes, as you can imagine, he got the nickname Badger because he badgers people all the damn time. Kind of funny, though. But it does get annoying from time to time. And I'm actually the one who gave him that nickname, by the way. Got another dude named Slinky, and Slinky's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's real skinny, but he's kind of hunched over, sort of. He walks like he's got a hunchback, even though he doesn't have a hunchback. It's just his spine is really curved. He should probably get that checked out, by the way. But he didn't actually get his nickname because of how tall he is, even though you would think that's the reason why he got the nickname. It actually comes from my buddy Frank. This was several years ago. We was all watching Family Guy episode. And you had this Slinky. And a Slinky is a thin strip of metal that's coiled upon itself, and you hold it in hand, and, you know, it slinks back and forth, and you can push it off steps, and it'll kind of walk itself down some steps. So in the Family Guy episode, the Slinky was at a work office on the computer doing work, when all of a sudden the sprinkler system broke, and he started to rust really bad before he could delete his browser history. And he was like, "Oh no, delete my history, someone please," before he froze up in a rusted, locked up state. And the camera panned around to the computer screen, and you saw Slinky and the Stinky, meaning it was a porn site for anal penetration. And that's how Frank gave him that name, because of the whole Slinky, and he kind of looked like a Slinky. And when we all came out to work the next day, he was sitting there, and Slinky actually asked Frank, he said, "Man, did you watch the episode of Family Guy last night?" Frank was like, "You know I did." And Slinky's like, "Man, I'm not answering to that damn name, Frank." And Frank said, "Oh, you're going to answer to it, Slinky." And he got everybody to start calling him Slinky, so that's his nickname from now on. There ain't a damn thing he can do about it. And Slinky the Stinky. So those are the types of nicknames and stuff that you hear in prison. And nicknames give you insight into a person's character. One of the guys that I know, one of the few gang members that I've ever met in prison that I actually genuinely like and think kind of highly of, is a dude named Murder. Now, Murder's kind of short and stocky, and he's tatted up all over. You know, he wears his clothes kind of baggy, you know what I'm saying? He tries to put a little swagger, a little style to it. So if you're in the pod with this dude and you hear somebody say, "Yo, Murder, what's up? You know, what's good with you?" just looking at this dude, you say, okay, man, just the way he looks, the way he's inked up, and by the nickname Marker, you know this dude's a gang member. Now, you're probably not going to know what gang he belongs to unless you know how to read his ink right. But you're still going to know this dude bangs. That's what he was in prison for. You know, and by nickname Murder, you pretty much guess the dude's done took somebody's life. So nicknames like that, you know, if somebody calls, you know, a white dude in the system Country, or if they call a black dude named Country, you know that black dude isn't from the city. He's actually from the country. He grew up in the woods, probably on a farm or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So nicknames give you an insight into a person's personality and a little bit of their character and what they believe in and how they kind of see themselves, you know, and the things that they're interested in. I mentioned earlier some of the dangers about having a nickname in prison. And that actually happened to me. You know, when I started to rehabilitate myself, when I started to see myself for who and what I was, and I was disgusted by that, I realized that I had to get rid of my nickname Ghost. You know, which eventually I did, but I didn't do it right away. Because I was one of the original white dudes in the system that would stand up. Back when I first came into the system, a lot of white dudes were scared and they hid. You know, they would stay on PC, or they would, you know, if they wouldn't go on PC, they would stay in the cell all the time. That wasn't me. I walked the yard. I didn't give a damn who you were. You were going to have to prove to me that you was the better fighter. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care about an ass whooping. I'll take an ass whooping. As I've said before, I've lost more fights than I've won. I had a reputation. As I said, I was known as a dangerous guy. You know, I was known as someone who could fight and would fight and enjoyed it. So a couple of younger white dudes came in the system. And, you know, one of the dudes happened to be a snitch. And another dude happened to be a homosexual. But they were scared. And so they had heard about me. They started calling themselves Ghost, in the hopes that my name would keep them safe. And they actually kind of destroyed my name, because I had some dudes come from Lowlands, Nottoway, and another prison. I can't remember which one it was. And when they come up here, you know, when they hear somebody call me Ghost on the rec yard, you know, in the cages outside, or, you know, in the pod while I was working, you know, sweeping up the pod or something, they were like, oh, yeah, yo, you was that faggot from Nottoway. I'm like, yo, man, what the you just say? So, yo, you was that faggot Ghost from Nottoway. I know about you, man. What's up, dog? Holler at me. I'm like, yo, man, you got the wrong motherfucker right here. You know what I'm saying? And I would have to straighten this dude. Like, first of all, man, I ain't never been to Nottoway. You know what I'm saying? Don't put that bone on me, dude. Don't assassinate my character like that, man. I will chop your ass down in a heartbeat. I was starting to rehabilitate myself at that time, but I wasn't rehabilitated. So, you know, I still kind of responded a little bit violently towards someone assassinating my character like that. And that's some of the danger in having, you know, a nickname that is, you know, somewhat well regarded, respected, and known. Especially when, you know, you have that violent reputation. You know, you'll have some dudes that come in and are scared that will try to claim that nickname for themselves, and they can't live up to it. They can't, you know, fight like me. They can't stand for themselves like me. You know, they don't have that in them. You know, if they did, they would have their own nickname. They would have their own reputation to keep them safe. They wouldn't have to try to piggyback off of mine. That is one of the dangers of having a nickname like that. It kind of put me in a situation where I almost had to chop someone down because, you know what I'm saying, they're calling me a homosexual. They're calling me a snitch, which is something that I'm not. And look, I don't care what a person does. That's between you and God and whoever you're sleeping with. I don't, man, I could care less about that crap. I got too many problems of my own to be judging you for something. You know, so I'm not going to judge you. But in prison, even if you are a homosexual, do not be a homosexual in prison. There's way too much grief that comes to you over that. I've seen it. You don't want to be a part of it. So that's why I became so violent and so agitated when, you had a couple of dudes from these other prisons come up and started saying, yo, that's the dude right there. I had to straighten that quick, fast, in a hurry. And that's exactly what the hell I did.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Those, like I said, it's kind of a catch-22, so if you don't want to have a nickname like that, just pick a regular name. Look, if your name is Christopher whatever, don't go by Christopher. Just have somebody call you Paul or Peter or John. Just pick some name that somebody may think is yours, but actually isn't yours, or just pick some non-committal nickname. You know what I'm saying? I probably would stay away from Pinky or Fluffy or something like that, but that's just my opinion and my personal taste. This is Red Onion Randy. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. For those of you who listen to me on Apple Podcasts, I would truly appreciate it if you would not only rate me, preferably 5 stars, but whatever you think I'm worth, I'll take and be damn grateful for it. But I would also appreciate it if you would give me a review. If you think I'm great, please write that. If you think I suck, write that too. I'm honest, and I want you to be honest. Thank you for listening to me. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you for using GTL.